Hello, I'm Rosella from Stitching in the Moment and welcome to my craft room. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, and today I'm going to make this little Sashiko inspired brooch, which I think is really pretty. It's a really quick project to stitch as well, great as a gift for someone else or for yourself. So let's begin. So for our little Sashiko brooch, you're going to need a template. I'm using 7 Treasures, I think it's called, this one, and I'm just using one of the circles from it, so I'm going to pop that centrally on my fabric. I'm using the navy blue with white thread, but you could use any colour fabric and any colour thread. I'm using Sashiko thread, but you know, if you don't have that, maybe try some perlé thread. To me, it's the process. It's not necessarily going to be totally traditional, so it's Sashiko inspired. So the first thing I'm doing with the template is trace through, excuse me a minute, excuse me, it's my water, must have bones in it, and I have noticed that when you're tracing through these templates, actually it's got finger holes here for you to put your fingers in, it looks like you're hardly transferring any colour at all, but when you take it off you can see really easily, so it's fine. And they're easy to line up if you find you do miss a spot as well. If I was using white fabric or cream fabric, a light colour, then I'd probably go ahead and use my air erasable pen, actually, because I just think it'll be quick. But this pen came with the starter kit, and it's got different coloured leads in there as well, which is quite useful. Now I've been talking, I've entirely forgotten where I got to, but let's take it off. So you can see it's actually quite bold, isn't it? Now so I'm going to stitch this in double thread. So I'm going to actually take one of these long threads out. So I've taken my skein and I've opened it out and I've cut through one end so that I've got length, is that about 18 inches, something like that, so 36 in total. So I'm just going to thread this needle, and I'm going to put a knot in the bottom there just to secure it. I'm going to stitch on this side, and that is going to be my front, so I'm not stitching it reverse. This is as it is. So I'm going to pop my needle through. I've immediately got a knot at the back, obviously. Just going to make sure that that's not looped at all. There we go. And then we're going to do the running stitches. So actually, let me put my fingers under there so I can grab the fabric. I'm not going to focus on getting them entirely accurate, because if I did that, I'd be here for a long time and I still wouldn't get it that accurate. So I'm just going to sit and enjoy this. It is important to smooth your fabric out as you go along so that it doesn't get wrinkled. This is just an embroidery needle that I'm using, so it's not very long, so I can't get that many stitches on it. Let's just smooth that out. Make sure that it's not puckered at all. There we go. And I'm doing the outer edge of this first. Now these templates ordinarily tell you which way to stitch, you know, which areas to stitch, and I have to say I've paid absolutely no attention at all, but to me it seems logical to stitch the outside of this first. But that may be wrong, but that's the way it is. And again, as I go along, I'm going to make sure that I haven't got any puckers in my fabric that's going to ruin the look of my brooch. It's really quick to stitch this. In fact, this is a quick project to make up as well. So if you've got a last minute gift maybe for someone, you're thinking, oh crikey, I need to make something fairly quick, then this is a great one to go for, because there's a good chance that you've got some fabric in your stash, you've got some embroidery thread in your stash, and you know, if you don't feel confident with the circle, then go for a square. I'm just going to pull my thread taut. There we go. And we're already pretty much through the outside of this one. It's such a lovely design, this. I don't know why it's called 7 treasures. I can't, looking at the design, I can't see 7. So I'd really appreciate if anyone could tell me that. Or perhaps I could actually just Google it. Maybe I'll do that. I've got that one stray. Now if I was working in single strand, I wouldn't have this trouble, would I? But I'm not. I wonder which one it is. Come on, play nicely. Let's split that and see if I can find the culprit. It's not that one. Must be that one then. Yeah, there we go. And then, where's my thread at the moment? It's there. So I'm going to do the inner design now. And I love this because actually this entire design is going to be stitched with one thread as well. It's got that caught up in there. It would be really nice to use 2 different coloured threads on this. Wish I'd thought of that before. However, it's going to look quite traditional, so I'm going to be happy with that. Go. Now, can you see that all my stitches are not necessarily the same length? I'm not worrying about that because it's going to be the overall effect, isn't it? And also, I'm not a machine, I am a person, so if it's not entirely the same, it's not entirely the same. And I don't claim to be a sashko expert, but I do enjoy stitching it. I find it very relaxing, as you can tell because I can't talk, and I like the effect. I think it's a really nice bold effect that you get with it, and it's accessible. I'm just going to pull that up a little bit to make that one sit nicely, and let's move on to this one. Smooth as I go along. Now I haven't got very big corners to turn on this. Got a little bit of a turn in there, and what I would do is, if you've got a big corner, just put a little bit of extra thread at the back so that, you know, when you do wash it, if you wash it beforehand, it's got time to move itself around and organise itself. Missed my line there, I can see that I have, so let's just do that again. With putting all these stitches on one needle, It does mean that actually it's really easy to undo it if you think you've gone wrong. Wrong, I don't really like that word. If you feel you haven't followed the pattern precisely. One more to go. Okay. It's a really lovely design, isn't it? And how quick is that? Let's just weave it in a little at the back, go through a couple of stitches and then knot it. It's a brooch, it's not going anywhere, the stitching's not going anywhere, it's going to be all enclosed in the workings of the brooch. There we go. Let's cut that end off. It's used hardly any thread at all, just look at that. And I think we're ready to assemble. So we've got our finished piece of stitching, and what we need to do now is we need to cut a circle out of the piece of fabric. How am I going to do this so I can see it? I'm going to hold it up to the light. Sorry, oh yeah, you can pretty much see this, can't you? Make sure it's kind of in the centre. And then all we need to do is draw around it. And once I've drawn around it, I'll let you know how big this circle was. And it's, you know, give or take. You could draw around maybe a bowl or something that's a circle. Let me get the tape measure. And let's see how large that is. So it's about 4 1/4 diameter inches. So give or take, and then I just need to cut that circle out. And then I think what I'll do is give it a quick wash to get rid of any of the chalky residue. Lost the circle there. It's not that critical. And a bit of a press. So I'm now ready to assemble my brooch, and what I'm going to use is I've got several pieces of card that I've just glued together, and on this side I've got a little bit of sticky back plastic. Sticky back plastic, is that right? Double-sided sticky sheet. Anyway, you could use fabric glue if you don't have this. You could use double-sided tape. It's just to help it stay in place. It's not essential. I've also got a little bit of felt, that's to hide my workings at the back. And this is some fusible fleece to give it a little bit of padding, and another piece of sticky, whatever we decided that was, sticky plastic or something. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach the fusible fleece to the back of my little design. And I need to ideally get it in the centre. So if you pop it on, because I'm using white, I can see through that it's pretty centralised on that. So I'll just get the iron. Make sure I've got the sticky side up. Already had to clean my iron once today. I think I'll use a bit of paper over that, or a bit of cloth. Let's see if I've got a bit of cloth here. That'll do. Just to protect it ever so slightly. I'm not sure my iron's hot enough yet, we'll see. Yeah, okay, that's attached. Let's get rid of that. And then what I want to do now is I want to run a gathering stitch around the edge, and I'm actually going to use the Sashiko thread because that's nice and strong anyway. And I'll put my knot on the outside. And because we've been doing this, we should be expert at running stitch now, shouldn't we? It's just to pull it in. So I've got, because I'm using quite a large circle of card, the circle that I'm using is quite a lot larger than my design is. Let me measure that just a moment. So about 1.25 inches all the way around larger, so if that gives you something to go on. Nearly round. This is going to look really pretty and different coloured thread as well, isn't it? Okay, so I've got my running stitch all the way around. And I'm now going to place my card inside. Okay, can't get it in. Let's just release that a little bit. The wind's getting up a little bit in my craft shed this afternoon. So make sure that it's sort of centred and that you're happy with the position of it. I think I am. And then I'm going to take off the paper backing. Okay, she says with confidence. Oh, nearly. There we go. It's quite sticky. And without attaching the fabric to it too much, and then I'm going to draw it up. So let's make sure it's nice and even. Let's pull from both ends. Oops. Yeah. I'm just going to pop a knot in there now so that I've got a little bit more leverage. I think that's about the limit. Let's just double knot that, and then let's just, actually might be better off doing that from the front. Let's just ease over the gathers so that it's attached to that sticky. Looking good, liking it. It's not quite central, but you know, hey ho, I'm not a machine, I'm a person, aren't I? So I'm okay with that. And oh, actually that's a nice place to put the edges there. Let's cut off any loose thread. So then all we need to do now is attach the felt to hide the workings. So I think I'll attach the, actually let's attach the sticky to that first or that first. Decisions, we'll perhaps pop it on the felt first. There we go. And that should hide pretty much all of our workings so that it's nice and tidy. And then all I need to do now is attach safety pin or a brooch back to make it into a little brooch. And I'm just going to go and find one of those. So I couldn't find a brooch back, so I've got a safety pin. I'm just going to pop a knot in my thread there. Let's get rid of the excess tail. And let's pop that in to the felt. Oops. Open up your safety pin if you're using one, so that you're attaching this bit to your brooch, not that bit. Let's cut a bit of felt there. Just need to finish off a thread. I don't think that's going anywhere. That's a really stiff safety pin. And there we go. And we've got our little Sashiko brooch. I think that's really pretty. I hope you enjoyed making that. I did. Thank you for spending an afternoon in my craft room with me. And it'd be really great if you wanted to subscribe, so you'll receive notifications of next time to spend an afternoon with me in my craft room.